good enough is not right. Like, if you can do it better, you do it better.
My opinion of dry mixed products is that,
You're cheating.
those products were so spot on and so much better than any of us imagined they could have been. I think, I was instantly a fan of you as a chef, period.
You think of dry blends and you think cheese sauces and gravies and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you name the culture of the cuisine, we have multiple things in that arena on top of the normal stuff.
What's one of the hardest sauces that you've ever had to recreate dry?
Well, welcome to another episode of the Ignite Culinary 360 podcast. We are your Ignite Culinary team. I'm Chef Robert.
I'm Chef Ryan.
And I'm Chef Luke. On today's episode, we'll be chatting with Chef Jerry McDonald. Jerry is a multifaceted and uber-talented chef that I've been able to call a friend for the past 12 and a half years. He is currently the VP of Culinary at Midas Foods International and is responsible for the development of some of the finest custom chef-inspired dry mix sauces, glazes, gravies, bases, drinks, and desserts. As you'll see on today's episode, Jerry is an incredibly passionate culinary ambassador. From the time that he cooked burgers on the beach to taking the helm at the James Beard House for the RCA dinner, or the countless times he has partnered with myself and other chefs to help us promote our passions. He's extremely good at what he does and has a way of making everyone around him better. Well, that's enough for me. Let's hear it from Jerry himself. Welcome to the podcast, Jerry.
Thank you.
Super exciting to have you here, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. I've gotten to know you pretty well over the past, 12 years we said?
Something like that, yeah.
We've had some really fun times working together. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of these stories with everybody today. So with that being said, let's get right into it.
All right.
Now, your background, you've been all over the place, man, like the different places that you've worked. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background, where you've been, things like that.
I got into culinary. I was actually going to law school. I was a pre-law economics, political science double major, bored out of my mind. And I'd always cooked to pay my bills and stuff. So I was getting good grades, but I knew I didn't want to be an attorney about 2 years in. So I started working at a country club and I got a job there as a dishwasher. That was the only thing they had available. So within the first month, I learned all the stations of the kitchen. I could cook everything along the line. And about the end of that month, they said, hey, we need somebody to run our men's grill and do 2 soups of your own every day and specials every day and kind of short order cook stuff, simple things. So I took that over like a month in from being a dishwasher.
That's a jump.
And I'm like, I'm pretty good at this. Maybe I should go to school for this. So I went and went to culinary school and actually did an apprenticeship at the same time through the ACF. And I started working for Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, which people across the country probably know more for Ocean Prime. That's probably the one he's got the most span on now. But I opened restaurants 3 through 8, was involved in a lot of different concepts, did some menu development work for one of the concepts in New York. And Cameron was phenomenal. I mean, he the structure there taught me a lot about how to treat people and how to be in a kitchen and differently than I experienced other places.
Right.
I got to meet Cameron when he was testing some ovens for one of the concepts. And professional. Wow. He blew my mind.
Unbelievable human being. I mean, I had so much fun and I learned so much from him. For instance, we went on a trip to New York and we did 3 lunches and 3 dinners every day. And so by the end of that, if the food sucked, you don't even eat it. I mean, we would order the entire menu at places, in really nice places. And we were in a place I'll never forget. It was Osteria della Circo. And it was basically the kids of the family that opened Le Cirque, that ran Le Cirque.
Okay, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And they opened this little Italian Osteria. The food was, quite honestly, not good. I mean, it was really not good. And so we're stuffed. I take one bite of everything, and it's like, I'm done. So Cameron said, well, what did you get from this place? And I said, absolutely nothing. This food is, it's not much different than, your everyday average Italian restaurant. It was actually not good. And he said, I disagree. There's a lot. He said, did you notice the plate that they served that pasta on? Did you see the lighting, how they had the hidden lighting behind the wall and how that really, he named off 15 different things in that restaurant that made the dining experience better that had nothing to do with food.
That's awesome.
And he did it like in a second. He's just super bright. I mean, you look at his restaurants and he thinks through everything from placement of the bar, placement of the door. It's unbelievable what a great restaurateur he is. And it's all about taking care of people when they walk in the door. And he also is just incredible how he treated all of the associates. We didn't have any employees. Everyone was called an associate if you read any of his books. And we just went out of the way to do things for people. So I left Cameron's only because I had never done hotels. So I got an opportunity to work with somebody that some of you may know, Wiley Bates. He was at the Crown Plaza and Lofts Hotels. And what I knew about Wiley was he never stayed anywhere long, so I'd be the exec there soon. I love Wiley. He's a phenomenal chef and even better human being. And he was like clockwork there for a little while. Then I took over. I think there were like 11 food outlets between the two hotels we ran. Somebody had told me that I'd be good if I went to the manufacturer side because I started to learn. I got some textbooks and kind of taught myself enough food science to really screw stuff up, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I went and I started my own company and with a couple friends. Basically, I developed all different kinds of products, sauces, things for restaurant chains, things for home meals, everything, U.S. military. And just had everything co-packed. And it went really well. We were very successful.
Right.
A person that's been a friend of mine for all the way back till he called on me when I was at Bob Evans is Gary Freeman at Midas. He's one of the principals of Midas Foods. I came up to Detroit. He gave me a tour of the facility. We had dinner. So that's how I've been at Midas. I've been at Midas now it's almost 11 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Congratulations.
Which is an eternity in a chef coat. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fantastic. I mean, I get to work with food manufacturers, restaurant chains, all different types of food all the time. It keeps me on my toes. I have absolute freedom. We're always developing products without even a customer in mind. We think we need something. We have it. I mean, you think of dry blends and you think cheese sauces and gravies and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, we have non-prick pao paste, both green and red, in dry form. We have samjang. We have gochujang. We have doenjang. We have everything in dry form that we've put together because we needed them for projects. So, I mean, you name the culture of the cuisine, we have multiple things in that arena on top of the normal stuff. Honestly, a lot of people end up buying vanilla pudding and gravy and stuff from us, but it's so cool when somebody asks you for something crazy and you're like, yeah, I have 4 versions. What do you want?
Well, I must have met you then kind of right at the beginning of your Midas journey. That's pretty cool. My opinion was probably pretty similar to most chefs' opinions of dry mixed products is that,
You're cheating.
Yes, it's easy. And you're going to be able to save labor and save steps, but the quality, your trade-off on quality is going to be drastic. Right. And I remember that the first meeting that I had with Jerry. So I was back with Village Inn and Baker Square, and I was developing products. I remember Jerry coming in for a presentation, and it was just like I had low expectations. No offense, Jerry. I did not expect anything. I didn't expect anybody to really like anything, to be honest. I could not have been more wrong. I mean, those products were so spot on and so much better than any of us imagined they could have been. I think I was instantly a fan of you and just as a chef, period. But then of Midas and of the products that you guys were providing and showing us. So I don't know. I still think about that. I remember the Cherry's Jubilee sauce in that first presentation and thinking damn, this is good. This is really good. I don't know. I don't think I could have made it better from scratch, to be honest. And I have been proven right, I should say now, years and years and years throughout this process of our friendship and our collaborations. And kudos to you, man.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we have a phenomenal team, but we are so mean to our own products. It's an ongoing thing that we may have something that was great 5 years ago, and we find an ingredient where we can make it even better. We scrap it and we got to make it better. We have a facility in Detroit and we also have one in India. And so we had this is a story kind of how hard we are on our products. So we were like, well, we need better Indian products. We don't have a lot of Indian flavors. Indian flavors are on the, they're coming out now. And so we were working on a makhni or Indian butter chicken, right? Mm-hmm. Standard sauce for Indian flavors and especially in the United States. So we made this sauce and it was fantastic. I mean, it was absolutely bonkers good. But Richard and I both said, there's a little bit like it's just not perfect. Like we've had perfect and that's not perfect. Mm-hmm. And so we were using fenugreek seed, which is different than fenugreek leaf, right? So similar flavor, but the seed has a little bit of bitterness to it, whereas the leaf has a more sweet fenugreek flavor. So we couldn't find a source domestically to get enough fenugreek leaf where we could process it and that kind of stuff. We refused to show this product until we found the fenugreek leaf. In fact, we were buying it in India and shipping it to ourselves just to get the product right. Until we could curb that bitter flavor, which was like so minor, but we knew we could make it better. Mm-hmm. Honestly, there's no project for it. No one's asking for it. 99 out of 100 people couldn't tell the difference, but we knew we could make it better. So we kept working until we got it what we thought tasted about as scratch as it could be from a textural standpoint, from a visual standpoint, most importantly, a flavor standpoint.
Right.
But we do that all the time. I mean, people are like, it's good enough. We're like, nah, good enough is not right. Like, if you can do it better, you do it better.
That's awesome. That's a great commitment to quality. I mean, that's what we all need in the kitchen is just, it's got to be perfect. If it's not perfect, we're not there. We're not done.
Because, so many people do like their product drift, right? As soon as you say good enough, then the next time somebody does another version, good enough is further from the standard and further from the standard and further from the standard. And by the end of it, you started out at some beautiful dish, and by the end of it, it's just like a gloppy mess because it's close enough to the last one.
Right.
We always say that there's a lot of chains that every once in a while say they don't need a chef because we're not doing any new things. We're not doing any innovation. Mm-hmm. Like our company position, we always tell people that's the wrong thing. Even if you do nothing new, you need a chef to protect the food.
Right.
Right. You need the chef to be able to say, no, this is not right. We did this better yesterday. And we need to do it like we did yesterday.
Being that you've got a plant in India, do you get to go over there?
Weirdly, I have not been there in going on 11 years. I've done work for them.
Yeah, you've got to because the food is so amazing. It's unlike what you will eat here.
I know. I do have the benefit of my best friend is Indian. His mom is the best Indian food cook I've ever tasted in my life.
And I hear what you're saying because I've had people who live in India come over here on business and cook, and it's great.
Yeah.
But because the food is grown here and not there, the terroir, the soil changes, just like you're saying, between the leaf and the seed. It is so different over there. Yeah. And when we were over there, we didn't even make a conscious decision to go vegetarian, and we were vegetarian in 2 days and didn't even eat any meat the rest of our 2 weeks. And because why? Yeah. Everything was just so mind blowing.
That's the one cuisine I've told my friend's mother multiple times. If I ever was going to be vegetarian, it'd be because of in your house. Because I mean, their treatment of vegetables in general, it's so much more fulfilling than every other vegetarian cuisine.
So Jerry, you were talking about the process, the really extended process of creating these sauces. Maybe walk us through, how you guys go about creating a dry mix. I don't know. I'm going to use my own experiences. I've made sauces right from fresh products and cooked them, pureed, and done all these different things to these sauces to make them. How do you take that and then turn it into a dry mix that can then be, cut down the work?
That was going to be my question.
But I stole your question, didn't I, Ryan?
Totally stole my question.
Beat you.
The one time I was going to speak.
So we get projects a lot of different ways. So let's say, Luke is at Red Robin and he says, look, we're working on this sauce. We need it made to a speed scratch version because we can't bring in 30 ingredients and our cooks can't do this. But this is what we want. So the very first thing we do is get all of the ingredients and make exactly your recipe. So we have a gold standard in front of us. Ideally, we have you send us a version of something you made too, and we kind of compare those just to see if there's any drift in between recipe and what you made and what you like.
Right.
We look at all of the ingredients. Obviously, some of the things are easy, right? There's dry seasoning, salt, sugar, all that stuff. we just take those things and do exact quantities. I mean, it's easy to do. So then let's say it's an Asian sauce and has soy sauce in it. We will look at soy sauce powder, number one, but we will also look at some of those ingredients in dry form aren't as sharp as they would be, or they don't have the full either look or feel or flavor as they are when they're wet. So we will use things like liquid flavors and extracts to highlight those and bring those back around to the fresh flavor. So we'll do all of those things on every single ingredient. I mean, we'll stay on Asian sauce. So we're doing that with soy. We know that we've kind of developed a way to make ginger taste like fresh ginger and not just the dry, muddy ginger from just dehydrated ginger.
Uh-huh.
So we'll put all of those things together, and usually that gets us about 50% of the way there. And then from there, it's honestly a ton of tweaking. I try to get the flavor right first. Then we can get viscosity. I mean, viscosity is an easy thing to do at the end. And then you might need to do a little bit of salt change or something like that because the starch does eat up some flavor, right? So when you thicken something. But we try to get so we can put as many things in there to make it as easy for you from a speed scratch standpoint as possible. But let's say you wanted like really, really fresh lime juice at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We could get most of that lime in, but we may say, you know what, squeeze a lime in at the end and it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you the option of us doing it all, or we'll just say, you know, if you can put a little lime in, it's perfect. Or let's say you had some diced onion in that sauce. Dehydrated onion, it doesn't eat like a fresh diced onion. We know you have onions in-house. Just add the onion at the end and we'll do the rest of it. You add water and oil and onion. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, but we start out with like the gimmies, right? Like the things that we know, the right paprika, the right chili powder, the right cumin, coriander, whatever it is. We're putting those things in, and then we kind of build it back till it tastes and performs just like the scratch sauce.
You mentioned about the different versions, so I can attest. There were times when we were getting samples from Jerry, and it was like the first sample we got, but it would be version 9.8 or something like that. Then we would make revisions and send it back, and hey, can you tweak this and change that? And then it would come back, and it was like version 18 or something like that. So it was pretty wild. I can only imagine how many times these things get made and remade and remade and tweaked and remade. And
well, we kind of figure just as our approach is, we don't send something unless we think it's there, or we think it's where we want it. Even if we don't think it's there, we want a direction. Only because it saves so much time. I mean, to pay the money to ship something across the country, and then we understand that. I mean, you only have so much time to be trying samples. You've got meetings and other projects and a million other things. We don't want to waste your time tasting something we know is not right either. When we get feedback, it might take us another 10 tries till we feel like we address the feedback appropriately. The other thing I think that I gain from is once I get to cook with somebody, I kind of learn their lingo. So I can kind of translate to our team. Like I know when Luke says, I just wanted a little bit thicker. I know what that means to Luke. That's different than what it might mean to somebody else. Right. And it's different for everybody. So I always try to cook with everybody as much as I can so that I understand when they say something, what they mean. And that speeds up our process too.
So do you do a lot of dehydration yourself in your area or no?
No, we are constantly buying. We buy already dehydrated products.
Okay.
We just blend them. Our products really we don't really compete with other dry companies. We kind of compete with fully prepared sauce companies, I would say more, just because our commitment is, if anytime someone says it tastes like it came from dry, it's like the biggest failure on our parts. I mean, there's certain things that translate well and certain things that don't. I mean, Luke will tell you, we worked on a cheese sauce, and I think your other one was fully prepared, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We matched it in a water add cheese sauce. It doesn't taste like dry at all.
That's awesome.
It's like a 4-cheese sauce. I think ours technically had 5 cheeses in it, even though it only needed to be 4.
Right.
It's got the mouthfeel. It's really good.
That's really sweet. Do you have like a certain person like that just kind of looks for different new hydration products out there? kind of just goes around and finds new flavors or new things that everyone's doing, or how do you like go find the new hit dehydrated thing?
We don't have one person. We all kind of do it a little bit, right? So
Okay.
let's say when we started, we wanted to do gochujang, right? So there weren't a lot of people that were even in manufacturing form bringing in gochugaru chilies at all, right? And you need gochugaru chilies to make gochujang. So we started asking we have some larger suppliers and we have some specialty ones. And we ask our specialty ones and ones that do a lot in Asia for, look, we need gochugaru powder. Like, where do we get it? Like, can you get it?
Right.
Can you get it treated? So we kind of initiate that, and then we have people go out and find it. We have a few companies that will be technically broker suppliers, but they do a good job of finding those niche things for us. So we're always asking for them. Sometimes they're not available, sometimes they are. But when we ask for unique things, I was doing ramen broths and stuff like that, and I'm looking for certain things for dashi.
Yeah.
We'll ask, and it may not be available now, but whenever one of those people sees that thing, they call us and, hey, remember that you asked me for dashi, you were looking for bonito flakes in a powdered form or whatever. Here we go.
That's cool.
We're always doing that. We do go to shows and we look at all those things, and we ask people weird questions when we see them doing something close to what we're looking for. Sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't. But yeah, we all kind of do that. We take it upon ourselves when, because we've looked at stuff. The newest one I've been looking for is a roasted eggplant powder. I haven't found anybody yet that does one. But if I were to make baba ganoush, I need the eggplant. I can't just make it fake.
Right. All right. Well, any of our listeners, if you know of anybody that was producing a dried eggplant powder,
yes,
we know somebody that wants one.
Yes.
But how many tons do we need?
Yeah.
That's the challenge too. Right. But no, I mean, we're always looking for weird stuff. I mean, it seems random, but we're looking for stuff like that all the time.
Chef Robert makes an amazing dried kimchi. And I mean, we've been using it for various things. I mean, we just did an event where we put dried kimchi, like just as a seasoning shake on chips.
Yeah.
I did it on some pork tenderloins once for a sandwich. I mean, that was killer too. It's a really good product Robert makes.
Robert, we got to swap. I've got a quick kimchi powder. I'll send you some of mine. You send me some of your seasoning.
Okay. Yeah, I make kimchi from raw, and I ferment it for like 3 months, and then I dehydrate it. It's something that I stole from another chef from a friend in Chicago. So
there it is.
I can't take credit for the idea. I took the idea from somebody else.
Well, I mean, you can. We don't know if he or she's listening, so
yeah. So you're fine.
Along those lines, I was I was doing a stage in a kitchen, and they had commercially done dehydrated corn powder, and I thought it was just amazing. Yeah. And so I went back to my kitchen and started around with it, and found out that I needed to get fresh corn in season from a farm stand. And then I needed to steam it at 220 degrees for 6 minutes so that the starch converted to sugar. And then I did 170 degree dehydration, and I played around with different temperatures and found out 170 for 3 hours worked out great. And then I threw it in the blender and ground it up. And when I took the top off the blender, it was like I was standing in a field. It was so amazing. Cool. Yeah, and then so that like became a go-to for the next month of, it went on everything.
I took for a food competition, I took a dehydrated freeze-dried corn kernel. We were doing this kind of throwback to the 70s in our dish. So I took a plated basically flavors of like caramel corn on it on the kernels. So it tasted like caramel corn, but it was actual corn, not popped.
Wow.
And so we called it unpopped corn, caramel unpopped corn. And we served it in a little to-go container that looked like one of those old bubble poppers.
Yeah.
It was so cool because you're eating literal puffed, like dried corn, but it tastes like caramel corn. It was really fun.
What's like one of the hardest sauces that you've ever had to recreate dry?
Hardest things to recreate dry. Certain things, there's certain cream sauces that just are hard to to not have it taste dry. Just because you get that scalded milk flavor, it's actually the most simple things are the most difficult because it has to be dead on perfect. When you get into things that are, some ethnic sauces that have a million things in them, those tend to be a lot easier because, you have a lot of things that cover up round, edges, right? They round them out. Some spices will round out edges, acid will round out edges. But when you're doing just a straight up cream or butter sauce, really tough to look and taste and perform like a scratch sauce. Beurre Blanc is very difficult. Vin Blanc is very difficult. But yeah, those are the most difficult, I think.
My next question was going to be like, do you ever experiment making like cocktails in dry form? Where you can like, because everybody drinks. I mean, especially chefs, where it's like, oh man, I could just pour this in my water bottle at the airport and shake it up, and now I got a gin drink.
We could do it. The powdered alcohol is tough. We actually had a company that did powdered alcohol, but it didn't have an alcohol content. They had just basically spray dried alcohols.
Yeah.
We do cocktail mixers and stuff like that. Actually, we have a line of Bloody Mary mixes that are bonkers good.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. I love the challenge of projects, and then we also challenge ourselves a lot. I've always been a proponent of this. Sounds so counterintuitive, but you have to plan to give yourself time to do creative things and just see what happens.
Right.
If you don't plan the time for it, you never do it, and you're doing the same stuff everybody else is doing. And that's the quickest way to failure, no matter what part of this industry you're in, is just doing the same old every day that everyone else is doing.
Right.
I planned to be creative this morning, and then Luke scheduled a podcast at 8:15.
Hey, it's not 8:15 my time.
I hear that, Robert.
I can't help it.
With that one. I thought he was joking when I first saw the email.
Ryan actually did. He texted me. He's like, "Is this for real?"
8:15.
It's not because of me, because I offered. I said it doesn't matter what time, I'll do it.
Oh no, we know.
It's all my fault. It's all good.
Looks like no. Everybody will be fine with it. Maybe we should just try for 7:30.
At the CIA, we started classes at 8:00 in the morning. We get serious right away. We get up early and do this and that, and at the CIA.
I know. I mean, you'd think it would be a lot more reading in this podcast. We're just making it about CIA, right? Like,
oh my goodness.
I mean, there's way too much kitchen equipment around for it to be a CIA involved in that.
Man. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
I used to call the CIA the library. It's where you go to learn about reading about cooking. and they have like an audio visual room where you can go watch somebody else do the cooking.
Oh my goodness!
I do know Luke. I do know Luke can cook, and we'll put the work in. We humped out a lot of burgers in South Beach together. So
we did. Thanks for saving me there, Jerry. I really appreciate it. So now Jerry's bringing up actually an event. So when I was still with Red Robin, we would always participate in this South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And at the wine festival, there was this event called the Burger Bash, and it was super cool. It's a real big event. It's out on the beach. I mean, you're setting up booths out in the sand. I mean, it's sponsored by the Food Network. I mean, it was super cool. There's celebrity chefs walking around. They were hosting it and judging it. With Red Robin, I was fortunate enough to be able to be a part of this for three of the years that I was there. Prior to the event, we had a competition, and it was a competition at a local college down there. And the winner of that competition, we actually set up a kitchen on the beach. We made that burger as a team and served it to all the guests and all the people that were down there. And then right next to it, we had another competition that was going on that I got to be a judge for. So it's me, Chef Karen, and we're trying to get everything together. We do prep and the planning for it all. But once we get there, because we're in the judging booth, we don't actually cook, which I always thought was weird the first year that I did it. Jerry volunteered to come down and man the booth and cook with some of our local Red Robin line cooks and managers. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever cooked, hundreds and hundreds of burgers on one grill with open flames on the beach with all the wind and everything like that. And I mean, you can only imagine the amount of smoke. So those guys were wearing like, I don't know, handkerchiefs around their faces. I mean, sunglasses at night with a little slit.
Bandana over our face.
Just so you could kind of see through it all, because the smoke was just, it's rough, right? It is very rough. So kudos to Jerry, because he did that. And I just sat there and I felt bad, more or less, because I was over in the judge's booth.
Just you saying that smoke thing made my eyes water really bad.
Yeah. I know, right?
We did like 1,300 burgers or something like that, and then we cut each of those in half. But they were in only a couple hours or a few hours or something. It was fast.
It's about 2 hours. Yeah, just under 2 hours, I think.
And they had put our grill the wrong direction, so the wind, it just blew the smoke right in your face if you're cooking.
Yep.
So I ran the grill pretty much the whole time, because my thought was, I'm smart enough that if I'm going to pass out, I'll just walk away. But like, I'm thinking an hourly Red Robin worker, I'm like, this is a workers' comp claim, like without a doubt. I mean, it was like they put me in a smoker for 2 hours. I mean, it was, I smelled like a burger for a day and a half.
Right.
Dogs were chasing
but it was
you around
crazy.
the
It was really funny.
Running up to you and licking you.
Oh my! There's these chefs from the Food Network are coming over. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're getting smoked out. I'm like, that's no big deal. I got sunglasses. It's dark out. I've got sunglasses and a bandana on. It was a blast. We had a great time.
Definitely, a couple projects that we initiated with Midas Foods actually came from that event, where maybe somebody had made a sauce and we all tasted it basically there. And we may or may not have had a recipe, or we had at least sort of a starting point. But then we would go to Jerry, and Jerry would be like, "Oh yeah, I had that. I tasted this, and let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can figure it out." We always did. It was super cool.
That South Beach Wine and Food Festival, I still say that it's one of the best ways to spot trends.
Yeah,
over like a 3-4 day span that you can do. It's like a bunch of independent restaurants for the most part. You have people from all over the country doing just the burger bash alone. And you're like, you looked at the stuff they're doing, and there are people doing birria burgers and comeback sauces and specialty sauces. All of the things that you're seeing everywhere. But it was great, because that if somebody in Miami's doing it and somebody in Oklahoma's doing it and then it's not a fad, it's a trend.
Right.
And I just think it's a phenomenal event. I went this last February and got a lot from it. I put together my company's trend information, and it's a component of what I put together for trends for all different categories.
Can you share some of those trends with us that you have identified?
I haven't finished the breakouts, but I mean, some of the things are pretty obvious. I mean, yuzu, Korean flavors are still hot. They've been hot for a long time. But I mentioned earlier, Indian flavors are on the rise. Mm-hmm. You're seeing more regional Indian flavors come in. Mushrooms and truffle are just off the charts. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when people said, "Oh, mushrooms are really, some people just don't like them, and if you put mushrooms in it, you're not going to get them." That's not it. Mushrooms are everywhere now. I mean, it's all different kinds, independent call-outs. The other things that are still going. Nashville hot or hot chicken in general is still, without a doubt, people are more going to other identifying chilies. But yeah, I do an overall, and then I do one for breakfast. I do one for burgers. I do one for chicken. Do one for seafood, because they all have little nuances. And then I also, not just the flavors or the ingredients or the forms, but I also try to get if there's, when certain menu types are there, like shared apps, when those were the thing, and that was the end all be all, or the you get into now Gen Z, everybody kind of wants individualized meals. So I was actually talking with with some friends that work for a restaurant chain, and their whole thing was, why are these other companies that have worse food doing better with a younger group? And it's like, well, when you get your food from your restaurant, they get 4 different containers and they kind of have to share things. But when they get it from this other place, even though the food sucks, they get a box and all their stuff's in it. And Gen Z is a lot more individualized. Like the whole shared app, shared everything. It's not as popular with Gen Z as it is as previous generations. They kind of want to get their stuff and eat their own at the same time you're eating your own, not kind of pick and choose and share. So
Yeah, back to the mushrooms. We had Luke and Ryan came to Phoenix a few weeks ago to help me with an event, and we have a restaurant here in town called Glai. It means far from home, and the chef is from Thailand, and she learned to cook from her grandmother, and she's got a James Beard nod this year, and she does these tempura oyster mushrooms, but makes this sweet, sour, chili, salty vinaigrette to go over it with its shrimp paste and a lot of other things. So the shrimp paste gets you some salty and gets you some earthy, but then there's like a little bit of probably palm sugar in there and
maybe some
vinegar.
too,
and so,
yeah.
I mean, it's got so much stuff going on.
Mhm.
And when it just explodes in your mouth. It's just a wonderful dish.
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
And we were so inspired by it that we had an event here last week and ended up trying to recreate it, or at least somewhat recreate it in the event. So, and it was a huge hit.
Because I mean, mushroom. The other thing you mentioned on that sauce, too, ferment is like crazy, right? Like it was all pickle, and now it's all ferment. I mean, it's still pickles, but ferment too. People are really embracing the depth that you get through fermentation, and so you put those things together with that mushroom, and then the ferment of the shrimp paste, and probably some fermented chili in there. I mean, it's addictive. It's so good.
So Robert mentioned the restaurant was a James Beard nominated restaurant. So I want to share this about you that you were chosen to be a chef at the James Beard House not too long ago, and congratulations. It sounds like you're going to be going back. So tell us a little bit about that experience there at the James Beard House.
You know, when you come over to this side, I mean, we've all done it. We worked in independent restaurants. We cook nice food. You kind of think the James Beard House is, I mean, you kind of give that away when you come to this side, right? Like some of those accolades and some of those kind of bucket list items from a culinary standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it'd be really cool. There's a lot of talent in the research side that, you know, we don't have that recognition, but it'd be kind of cool to see if we could get an invite to cook at the James Beard House. Put together a prospectus about doing this dinner that kind of highlighted the skills of research chefs doing really high-end food. We got the invite. I mean, I'll never forget the day that we got the invite. I'm like, crap, I didn't think it was actually going to happen. So I put together a team, and we went, and it was a lot of food and drink. So we pushed. I wanted to show the people at the Beard House that we did have the talent there, and it made sense to kind of recognize us a little bit. Downstairs, before everybody went up, there were 4 appetizers, 2 NA cocktails, and 4 hard cocktails. Then when everybody went upstairs, there were 8 courses, each paired with an NA cocktail and with wine, plus an amuse-bouche, plus 4 different breads and 4 different butter services.
Jeez.
2 different scented towel services. And then the dessert course alone was 3 desserts. We did an Americanized version of a Japanese kaiseki dinner. So in a kaiseki, your dessert would be a dessert plate. So we did subs for any allergen anybody had. We knew what they were. Smoothest running kitchen ever. We pushed 1,000 plates between all of the courses and everything. I mean, and it was an easy 1,000 plates. I mean, we laughed and had a great time. So we did really well, and I kind of connected with the James Beard Foundation after that, and we're able to get invited back this year for 2 nights, actually. So the first night are like their top donors of the foundation, and the second night's going to be for RCA like last time.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hopeful. We've kind of discussed even adding R&D as a potential category for an award.
Wow. Nice.
I'm hopeful that eventually we're able to come to agreements on that, but I'm also looking forward to having all the companies, you know, in research in the Research Chef Association kind of partner up and be sponsors of the foundation and kind of protect the house and protect the foundation. The James Beard Foundation does so much for chefs in general, but also chefs in needy groups, underappreciated groups. They do a lot. They do a lot for education. And I think a lot of what they stand for are what most of us stand for as a community of chefs. So I'm hopeful that, you know, this is kind of a connection that lives on and kind of helps both the research side gave him some notoriety and well earned honors, but that the foundation also has a new kind of well of resources to kind of help do things to help our collective community grow and do better.
Nice. That's amazing.
We're always amazed, but we shouldn't be. We're in the hospitality industry, and the
Right.
people in this industry, we're all the same. If I went to any of your guys' houses, you'd be pulling stuff out left and right. It's the same thing you come to my house. I mean, you're always doing for others. I mean, that gene that we all have that makes us all broken, but also want to take care of everybody. I got it from them right away. I mean, unbelievable people.
Yeah, chefs have such bad names. Like, we're such mean people. I mean, we are, but in a sarcastic way.
To be fair, we all love Luke, and he's our friend. And when he didn't have working headphones before we started recording, we mocked him incessantly until he had the ability to hear. So, and then our
100%.
only sad part was that he couldn't hear all the mean things that were said. That's the only part that upset us. So we've earned some of it. I mean, to be fair. By the way, how do we all pick on Luke? Luke is like the only nice person in this entire group of four of us.
That's why.
He's the only kind, proficient, organized person between all four of us, and yet we all kick him.
It's because we love him so much.
That is true.
I could take my hat off again.
Please don't. I mean, we have a level of the podcast that doesn't need to be lowered.
On that note, thank you very much, Jerry. It's been a pleasure getting to reconnect with you and have you here. I think, gosh, I think we could have kept on talking for another couple of hours. We may have to do a part 2 with Jerry. Thank you again for taking the time with us and sharing your expertise and trend knowledge and all sorts of stuff and sharing some stories. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, let's schedule it for later in the day too, Luke.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I got to tell you, I mean, I'm honored. You probably never want to hear from me again, but I'd be happy to get on and talk with you guys anytime. I mean, honestly, Luke is is a blend of talent and professionalism and friendship that you don't run across a lot in this industry at the levels all across the board. And I chat with him anytime. You guys are just tag-alongs, but I talk with Luke anytime.
100%.
Yeah, this has been fun because I geek out with food and I dig food science. And so this was really interesting hearing things from you and your perspective and what you're doing with it and how we used to call them flour and water chefs. Yeah. And, that's not the case. It's quality stuff. No, like you said, 99 out of 100 people probably wouldn't get the great quality, but, we're cooking for that one that understands
Absolutely.
it. So it sounds like you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you guys. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation.
That was fun with Jerry. I wish we would have been recording some of the stuff in the beginning and at the end because we were just, I don't know, we were being kitchen misfits.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Jerry's a cool guy.
He's a great guy. I hope he makes it down here to Phoenix, and I'd love to go out to dinner with him and just, create a little bit of mayhem.
One of the things, as I after I met Jerry and I got to know him a little bit better and just learning about him as a person, A, he's one of the nicest people I've probably ever known in my life, but B, he is so knowledgeable about everything. I mean, if Jerry wants to know something, he will research and do every little thing about it to become, the master of that kind of knowledge, whether it's with ingredients or whatever. So hearing him talk about, the processes that they take and everything like that, all the steps that they take to do any of their development there. It wasn't surprising, but it's always interesting and fascinating to hear what all goes into making something.
Yeah. And I think it's something that more chain restaurants or even independent restaurants really think about too, especially with think of how much stuff costs these days. Mm-hmm. With I was with my restaurant, there was the egg shortage and eggs were outrageous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then remember chicken wings? Remember when chicken wings were
chicken wings
out
was
of
a thing
control?
too. Oh my God. Yeah.
just like, especially in scratch restaurants, if you don't get an ingredient for that sauce or something, you're not making that sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like that different perspective of where people are like, oh, that's gross now. It's not out of the box thinking anymore. It's like something that's really in consideration and people should think about it more.
Yeah.
It was really interesting hearing how dedicated they are to find the best product for that kind of thing.
I mean, we should all live by that, right? I mean, I think that's a lesson that we can all take. Like, and I think that's probably a lesson that we've all have heard and have known and probably have lived by. But, there are times in your life when, maybe things get to be too busy, or there's too much stress, or there's, so many different things going on that you're feeling, stretched. But the reality is, like, as chefs, it's our responsibility to, be able to focus on each individual task and make them the best that they possibly can be at all times. Right. That's the charge that we have to lead.
Well, I think it comes down to, we were talking about not compromising. It's about the quality. Let's take it full circle. Yeah, I can cook all night long on a 6-burner range, but I'm standing there sweating. Is there a piece of equipment that is going to help me get away from that? Can I low temp steam it and get it partially cooked? So now I'm just throwing it on a plancha or throwing it in a hot pan to finish it instead of trying to cook it all the way and get it into the oven and do my timing. What technology is available in the kitchen to help speed us up? If the foods that Jerry and the sauces that Jerry's producing are as good as what would take me 6 hours to make in the kitchen, and I haven't compromised the quality, then it seems like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's almost like the speed scratch approach to your whole operation, right? Like how do you translate that without losing any of the integrity of what you're trying to produce, but then apply it to, everything that you're making, maybe even, your business, the whole model of what you're doing. I think it's important, we all need to be looking at how to do things the best way we can, but being resourceful.
300%.
I'm feeling a little left out because you don't have the Robert wall behind you.
Oh, that's true. You don't.
It can't happen every single time, Robert.
But I'm a little bit narcissistic.
Oh my gosh! Do you want me to like zoom in on one real quick, and then we can do the outro?
Ooh, hold on, right there,
there I am.
You got it. There he is.
And then look at him picking your nose.
Oh man,
dead on. I hope you click subscribe. Oh
no! Don't break it.
There you go. Is that the perfect outro? You're welcome.